Jeff Nowak here, NOLA.com's digital sports producer. Just wanted to get a quick film study your way before the Saints take on the Green Bay Packers in Week 3 on Sunday Night Football. There's been a lot of negativity, to say the least, surrounding Drew Brees' performance over the first 2 weeks of the season. And I just figured I'd take a dive into something that specifically has jumped out in terms of the slow start, kind of came to a head in Week 2 on Monday Night Football, which is what appears to be a relative lack of chemistry between Brees and Emmanuel Sanders. He has 4 catches on 8 targets through 2 weeks. One of them was a pretty nasty drop behind the line of scrimmage early in the game. Brees also missed him on a short pass. But the question that was posed to Brees on Thursday is basically, what's behind that slow start? And what Brees said is the Saints were looking to target him a lot more down the field, and the Raiders kind of took that away. There was some pressure on a few plays, and Brees couldn't get the ball where he was hoping to get it. So I went through and I tried to find some examples of plays that either looked like they were designed to go to Sanders and the defense took it away, or plays that probably could have gone his way that represented some missed opportunities, and there's a couple of each. So the first one is early in the game. Sanders is running a post. Tre'Quan Smith, who had a great game, kind of takes a vertical release, stops, and works back toward the middle. Now, this play is interesting because it's tough to criticize a guy when he makes a really nice throw for a first down. But what you see here is the Raiders are in cover 1, man-to-man coverage on the outside. What you need to look at is the safety. So he opens up to Smith's side. Now, when you're looking at a guy running a post, the safety would then have to flip his hips and drop, which would be very difficult to try to catch up with a guy like Sanders, who has the man-to-man corner on the outside, and he can essentially just run underneath him. So if Brees just leads him to the corner of the end zone, that safety's going to have a really hard time recovering and coming back. Brees, he's kind of eyeing Tre'Quan Smith the whole way, and I think he really wanted to get Tre'Quan Smith involved early, and he makes a nice throw. Tre'Quan makes a nice catch, and it's a good result early in the game. But this is one that you look at as, okay, if you're trying to get Sanders involved, this is where you could have done it, and you could have made a nice big play to open the game that really it represents a missed opportunity, even though it was successful. And next up, let's look at the opposite of that. Here we have Sanders kind of doing the same thing, taking a deep route down the middle and kind of striking it to the seam, with Tre'Quan Smith running a dig underneath him. This is basically a Michael Thomas special, and Brees makes exactly the right read here. The safety, as you can see here, the safety is sitting on top of that deep route. He's not shaded one way or the other. He's ready to break wherever Sanders goes. And Brees makes the correct decision. He hits Tre'Quan Smith as he comes across the middle, and Tre'Quan breaks a tackle for a really nice run after the catch here. Again, Tre'Quan had a great game. There were a couple situations where he was unable to make a contested catch, but in all, you have to be really encouraged with Tre'Quan Smith. But the question is Sanders, because he just was invisible. The next play here is another one where Brees kind of misses an opportunity. You have a 2-man combination. You have Harris taking the fade, and you have Sanders, kind of a vertical release that goes into a post. This is designed to create some natural tension between that flat defender and the deep zone defender in cover 4, because the deeper defender is going to want to drop, and he's going to have to drop on top of Smith. And the flat defender, who is the one who's initially on Sanders, has to stay in that zone. That's his responsibility in cover 4. So you end up with just a eminently attackable look for Sanders, who it looks like he raises his hand there. He is wide open. But Brees has already kind of decided he's going to hit Deontay Harris on the crossing route. And here's the thing. I don't hate hitting Deontay Harris in that spot. As you can see, if that ball's out in front of him, that is an opportunity for a catch and run with no one on the backside. When the ball gets to him, the linebacker is coming up to make a tackle, but he's got about 5 yards to cover. So if Brees is able to put that ball out in front of him, this is an all-pro kick returner who catches that ball in stride and has, 20 yards to stretch that out to the sideline and outrun the linebacker to turn it upfield, he's going to get 20, 30 yards on this play. He might score, to be entirely honest, because he's a kick returner. That's his best asset, is get him in space and make people miss. And Brees just can't take advantage of it. And that's really what makes this miss so bad, because I don't mind a quarterback passing on that long throw to the boundary to take advantage of an all-pro returner in space. I think that's a fair decision, but you can't miss. You can't leave that ball behind Deontay when you're already foregoing that deep route. And would have been a play that shut a lot of people up if he hits that and Sanders takes it to 75 yards to the house. You're having an entirely different conversation. Harris's play could have still been successful, but because it wasn't, it just is a terrible example of exactly where Brees has failed so far, and that's on the accuracy you're accustomed to seeing from a guy who has been among the most accurate of anyone in his NFL career. So when you're looking at Brees, I don't think you saw a glaring lack of arm strength in this game. I don't think you have in week 1 or 2. I don't think you have in the last few years, at least from the perspective that it hasn't gone down significantly from what you're used to. And that's what you have to look at is he significantly different this year in terms of arm strength from the guy who has led the Saints to an NFL best 38 wins over the last 3 regular seasons. I don't think that he ever had a cannon arm coming out of Purdue, but he's able to win games with his head and with his accuracy. And what you saw in week 2 was the accuracy wasn't there. He's still using his head. He still identifies a very attractive route to target here. He just misses it. He misses it in a way that makes you just kind of rub your eyes and be like, that is Drew Brees, right? Moving on. Here's another interesting route combination that I think you'll see the Saints go back to, which is, this is just a basic rub route. Harris has to be careful here because you could have easily called this offensive pass interference. I think that he's going to get a pass on a lot of those because he's so small that he can throw this kind of quasi pick without drawing too many eyes, because defenses are going to try to jam him. The refs aren't going to be on alert for him to run a pick. But it actually does work here to the extent that he slows up that defender and kind of locks him in coverage, but corner just does an excellent job of passing off Harris. He identifies what's going on, he chucks Harris inside, and he's able to drop into that zone and really take away the deep option to Sanders. You could argue that Brees could have made a 50-yard throw here and had a chance, but that safety is sitting over the top of it, and it's a very low percentage throw if he makes it. I'm okay with him skipping this one. And Brees just checks it down to Kamara. This is the right throw. I mean, anytime you can get the ball into Kamara's hands, it's not a bad thing. And these are the looks that you say, okay, they covered it well. Good job, defense. We'll take an easy 5-6 yard gain and go into the next down. And we'll make a note of that next time we're trying to run a rub concept, because the Raiders are clearly looking for it. But I think this is a good example of what Brees was talking about with Sanders. And, I think the route combinations they're running will work. So I think it's fair to be optimistic about Sanders. I think there's been a little bit of chemistry issues in terms of Emmanuel Sanders has 10 years worth of habits formed in other offensive systems that might not coalesce exactly with what Brees is doing. And I think the short miss earlier in the game is a good example of that, where he's coming out of his break at a slightly different spot than Brees is used to, and he buries it. Sanders also had a drop. Ty Montgomery also had a drop on a really easy catch out of the backfield. And those are the type of things that I think if you get a little further into the season and they get cleaned up, this game looks entirely different. But I think that there are better days ahead. I don't know if it's coming this Sunday but for Sanders, but I think that he will be a big part of this offense when it's all said and done. So I think there's a lot to watch, there's a lot to look at, and I hope I've broken down a few concepts for you that will help as you go forward. Hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. If you want to hit me up on Twitter and suggest any future film study topics, feel free. I'm at Jeff_Nowak. DMs are open. And if you want to check out more coverage, I have a fuller Drew Brees film study that I posted today on NOLA.com. And you should go over and check that out. It's also on my Twitter account if you'd like to click to it from there. But yeah, thanks y'all for listening, and see you next week.